Wisconsin State Supreme Court race is now the most expensive contest fought for a judicial seat ever.
More than $30 million will be spent between both sides, double the amount of the previous record. The outcome will decide whether the court has a liberal or conservative majority. Last time we spoke to conservative candidate and former Justice Dan Kelly. Tonight we're hearing from Milwaukee County Judge Janet Protasewicz, the liberal candidate on the ballot. In Your Voice, Your Vote coverage, Jason Zimmerman touched on several issues during a one-on-one interview.
In the February primary, Janet Protasewicz came out on top with more votes than the two conservative candidates combined. Her financial backing comes from across the country, and she hasn't been shy about promoting her ties to the Democratic Party in this nonpartisan race. Just like we did with her opponent, we sat down with Janet Protasewicz in the WBAY lobby, asking her why she's the best choice on the ballot.
I've been a judge for the past decade, making the hard calls on all sorts of cases. Just finished 3 years in a homicide sexual assault rotation.
Throughout the campaign, Protasewicz has touted her support for abortion rights, with endorsements from pro-choice groups.
Obviously, I think the voters have a right to know where a candidate stands personally on a number of these issues.
However, with a case likely to go before the court regarding the state's 1849 abortion ban, we asked if she already made up her mind on how she would rule. How do you separate your personal feelings from, the actual case and evaluating the statutes and whether or not they're legal?
When I walk into that courtroom, my robe goes on, my personal feelings go out the door.
Protasewicz had a similar response on the issue of redistricting, while saying personally she believes the current maps are rigged in favor of Republicans.
I don't know how the issues are going to be framed when they come to the court. I don't know what the arguments are going to be. I don't know what the briefs are going to say. So I'll make a decision that's fair and impartial and independent based on the law that comes before me.
In response to attack ads against her, Protasewicz says the notion she is soft on crime is especially upsetting.
I've sentenced thousands and thousands and thousands of people. My opponent has never sentenced anyone. He's never had to make the hard call of, does this person get a chance? Does this person get locked up for decades? He's never had to do that.
Spending-wise, Protasewicz has accepted donations from the Democratic Party of Wisconsin, but she is pledging to recuse herself from any ruling involving the party. However, there is at least one exception.
In regard to other matters, substantive legal matters, those of course would be evaluated on a case-by-case basis and based on the law and the Constitution.
But on redistricting, your answer would be no, you would not recuse yourself?
I would not see any reason to.
Protasewicz tells me she's also focusing her campaign on all areas of the state, not just the liberal strongholds of Madison and Milwaukee, and believes she needs a good turnout here in northeast Wisconsin to win. Back to you.